Welcome. This is our fourth podcast, Framing Reality. And again, just exploring the paradox of storytelling. Is it something that can liberate people, drive them on to lead more fulfilling lives? Or is it something that people use to trap us and exploit us? So today in the studio, we have Fillenz Ádám. Hi, Ádám.
Hello.
You're a cinematographer and been working on many international productions and Hungarian productions. And, we've got a series of, let's start at the beginning. Okay, that's
All
what,
right.
I'm kind of very curious about because, if you're working on a shoot and you know that you've got that opening shot coming up, as a cinematographer, what's important for you in that opening shot?
It's a difficult question because it depends on the shot, I guess.
Right, yeah. But maybe go to the last production you were working on, the first shot, the opening shot of that. I don't know I know you were working on The Brutalist.
Yes, but I was a B camera operator and second unit DP in that particular film. And last year I shot a short film that got into the Berlin Film Festival. So we were in February at the Berlin Film Festival, which was really nice.
But then let's go for your short film then. What's important about the opening shot there? What were you trying to establish for the audience?
In that particular short film, it was a dream sequence, so to speak. So it was a very dreamy start. And then during the editing, actually, it all changed because it was cut out. So it never ended in the final short film, unfortunately. But there was another dream sequence in the movie, and that starts the short film at the end, which is a very powerful shot. It's a zoom. It's a zoom shot of the main actress. It starts on her close up as she's laying over rail tracks. Actually, so you don't see that at the very beginning, but as the camera opens, you see that she's trying to or planning to commit suicide. And as the camera widens or the lens widens, we see her full body. She stands up, and then you see the train coming, and in the last second there's a cut, and then we are now in reality in a therapy room with her therapist talking, basically. So we don't see the actual accident. And it's just her dream, and they are talking about the dream.
Okay. And it's, we could say a very Hungarian theme, someone trying to commit suicide. But even in that, so, why is it so important for you? Because I know in the making of films, you can plan an opening shot and then the editing changes and they come up with a different opening shot.
I guess it's very important how a movie starts. It sets the tone. Sometimes we discuss that, it's very important to make the first scene or first few scenes, very memorable or very, very well done, basically. But and also the end of the movie is very important. But I don't really like this kind of expression because then it makes the middle part so obsolete, a little bit obsolete. Right. It's not that important, which is not true in my opinion, because I basically approach every scene and every shot that it should stand alone. In itself, it should be a nice shot, or not necessarily nice, but a functional shot that fits the story.
Okay, but at that point, at the opening shot, you're trying to get an audience to start to engage, and I mean, in that short film as well, it's, as you say, it's got to stand alone. So what is it that you as a cinematographer are asking of the audience to do?
To immerse themselves in the certain movie they are watching.
Yeah, okay, it's great. And I mean, you've been involved in, quite a few, perhaps not hundreds, but getting on.
Not hundreds yet, yeah.
Not yet, but a lot of films. You must begin to recognize certain things that will definitely immerse an audience, especially at the beginning. So, I mean, I don't want you to give away your big secrets, but, what are the kind of
I don't
rules?
Have big secrets. It really depends on the director who I'm working with, because some directors are more visual and they really want to be involved in how the visuals work, what are the shots and all that. Some others are more story-driven or actor-driven, so they give us or the production designer more freedom to design the look of the film. So it really depends on the people who you work with. I would say. I mean, I don't like to have a very strict approach because I feel like it could limit me. And that's why I enjoy the collaboration with the director. So that's what really sets the tone for me for each work.
Right. Okay. And if you in your thesis, you wrote about how light can be part of that, and I'm taking light to be a visual part of this, part of your visual toolkit. And you said this can be this can actually sort of drive the dramaturgy, the narrative of the film.
Yeah.
And so how does that work? That would be great to have an example, of how you've lit a scene because of what you want to say.
You're asking very difficult questions and very complex questions.
Sorry.
But I would say, for example, I shot a short film when I was living in the Netherlands for 2 years. At the end, I shot a short film, which basically became a Dutch-Hungarian co-production. It was a 20 minutes long short film. And that short film, I was the writer, director, and cinematographer in that project. And it starts with a early morning scene as you're in between block houses, so not a very good neighborhood of Amsterdam or the Netherlands, a bit of outskirts, and you see a mobility scooter driving along these streets without any driver or passenger. So it's an empty vehicle basically going on its own in this very early morning lights. And I came up with this specific start because the story was about how important it is to come out of your comfort zone, and that it really requires effort and pain and suffering to evolve, basically. And so that's the story, or the message of the story. And so we don't see the protagonist, we just see her vehicle going there in this early morning light. And I felt that this could really be a very strong few shots at the beginning of the movie to give a hint of what you will see later.
And what, this is brilliant. This is great. And I'm very intrigued. But what is it that you are hoping that you would hint towards for the audience? I mean, I get the point about, coming out of your comfort zone. So you're giving them, in a way, an uncomfortable image that they've got to deal with. What were the other hints that you wanted to give to them from that opening shot?
For example, that you don't see the protagonist. There is someone missing there. So you see a missing person, or you don't see the missing person. You just see an empty mobility scooter. And I think it instantly makes you curious. Okay, what happened? Why is he or she not there? And then as the story, so right after this scene, we jump back in time and we see the past couple of days, a few days before this event. And then we slowly understand how that happened. And by the end of the film, it will be quite clear.
So that's quite, I mean, the two short films that you've been involved in both seem to start, well, I wouldn't say with the end first, but it's a little bit like that. They're starting with with a point in time, and then the film goes back to before that. And I mean, I think that's a technique that's been used millions of times, and there's nothing wrong with it. Why do you think it's such a powerful technique to use? Because I think it is. It's really intriguing.
I think it just sets you into a world, basically, and into a narrative style, in a way. Some other movies I shot, for example, Pál Adrien, which was directed by Ágnes Kocsis. It also starts following a nurse in a hospital, but we just basically see her shoulder and we are very close to her, and it's a very long, I don't remember exactly, but I think like 2 minutes Steadicam shot going through the hospital corridors. And also we don't reveal her in that shot. Or yesterday, Tegnap, it's a movie by Bálint Kenyeres, what we shot in Morocco. That starts with just strange noises and a totally black screen, and then slowly a ferry's door starts opening, and then the sunlight comes in, and then you start seeing shapes of people standing there, and then it opens up, and then you arrive to Morocco, where the whole story takes place.
I suppose, again, one thing that I come away with from this, and it's something that I'm always sort of really keen to emphasize, is the power of one at the beginning. That, as audiences can't deal with two things happening at the same time. They need to start with one thing, even if it's just black.
Yeah.
And then suddenly light comes in and it gives them, you talked about a shoulder of a woman lying there, or, mourning on an estate, and it's starting with mourning, then it's an estate, then it's a mobility scooter.
Yeah.
So it sort of expands out like that.
Yeah.
And why do you think we need, it's such a great desire for the human brain to have that sort of, that goal point to start with, to be able to identify with?
I think it's a little bit because we live in a very tense world. Lots of things are happening. Your attention is everywhere. And whenever you're trying to enjoy any kind of art, it can be a painting or in a museum, it can be a book. If you sit down reading, it's also, you have to take time to sit down and start reading. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to sit down and just read 5 minutes now, and then I start cooking, and I make a phone call, then I continue reading. No, you have to have dedicated time to basically be able to enjoy the art.
So what you're saying is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's an interesting way, is that you're trying to encourage the audience to dedicate time.
I think so, or attention.
Attention, yeah. And you also talked about, the timing as well. I mean, sort of, you move very slowly from this one shot to another. You're opening it out. And the world that you're trying to create. And a world has a tempo to it and all these different elements to it. So,
sorry.
That's okay. How important is tempo? And how do you manipulate that tempo as well?
Well, it depends, because it's really more like the editor's territory.
But you've got to give them something, haven't you? Because otherwise, if you don't give them something to work with, then they've got nothing. They haven't got any extra shots, or maybe it's just too short and they can't expand on it.
Yeah, exactly. And there is also the I don't know what's the English expression when there are internal cuts. So basically, it's one shot. There are no cuts, but the camera it starts in a wide shot, then goes close to the actor, widens out. So there are basically internal cuts, which are not real cuts, but the camera chooses its perspective and changes throughout the shot. So the tempo itself can really be created there on set if it's one long take. I think it's a really perfect example to see Adolescence on Netflix now, which is like now very popular.
Yeah,
and it's really, really well done. There are no cuts in it, obviously, and or maybe there are, but hidden cuts, and so you can work like that, or you can have a more regular approach of storytelling, which is more on a kind of a safe side, which we know that it works. If you have to have a wide shot to show the location, and then you have to have the close-ups and all that. But for example, when I worked with Agnes Kocsis, she has a very specific taste, visual taste and style, and storytelling as well, as a director. And I think that whenever I worked with her, it was extremely important. Whenever we decided to have a close-up of an actor, that was extremely important. So all the other shots were wider, much wider, to see the whole body language, to see the environment, to see everything. And then when it got very, very emotional, that was the only reason for us to really go close with the camera to the actor.
If we move on away from the start a little bit, because you were talking about adolescence and this sort of it's all done in a single take, but obviously the perspective is.
I just saw the first episode yet, so I'm not an expert on that specific show, but it was already really remarkable how they executed it.
But how, because that's something else, the difference between, let's say, theatre and let's say TV or film is that it's a flat screen. Mm-hmm. And of course, we are interacting with flat screens an awful lot, these days. And how important is it, obviously it's important, but what is it you do to sort of, make the audience feel that they are entering into that screen?
I'm not sure if there is a general rule to this.
But you must have watched something where you felt, oh, that's not right. And then suddenly you're not in that world.
I'm not in that world only if what I'm watching is professionally not good enough.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So there are some professional elements that need to be right. But what are the things that? Okay, let's start from that point of view. What are the things that would make you think professionally this is not good enough?
Well, if we're talking about cinematography, of course, as you mentioned, lighting is very important. But also there are two approaches to lighting, because one can be a realistic, motivated lighting, and the other can be a very artistic lighting that doesn't necessarily follow reality. So, we can make that two distinguishing facts if we're talking about lights, for example. Camera moves, camera angles, shots, all of these can, if they are well planned and well executed with people who have good taste of style and and who are professional, then it's all good. But sometimes I just start watching something and then I feel like, okay, this is just not the quality that I want to, watch for a longer period.
And how important is a sense of structure to you, to feel because when we first started this, we were talking to Jury about, because he's originally a musician. He was talking about how you have changes in music, and then you build up a rhythm, but then you change the rhythm, but you can't just change it once. You've got to repeat that rhythm 2 or 3 times because the audience is waiting for it. But then you can't carry on repeating it. You then got to change it again, and these kind of things. But it's sort of like the repetition of certain things that makes us feel comfortable.
Yeah. I guess it's the same in filmmaking as well. If you set the tone for a movie and you keep onto that tone too long, then it becomes boring probably for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, as every narrative have an arc, I think it's true for visuals or cinematography as well, because otherwise it becomes boring.
Yeah. How, if you from a sort of technical point of view, though, well, I suppose it's not technical, but I mean, how deliberate do you think it has been to speed things up? Because in a way, I suppose, speed things up, it sort of becomes a bit easier and a bit cheaper probably. Whereas, doing things longer and slower.
And there is a tendency to speed things up, even in terms of the shooting itself. I mean, that's just a very clear, difference from earlier movies that people who were making films in the 70s or 80s. For example, now I'm just talking about Hungary or Hungarian cinema. They had the chance to go out to a location, look at the lights, and say, "Oh well, this is not good now. So let's come back tomorrow and check it if we can shoot tomorrow because it will be nicer." Then next day they also went there, checked it. No, still not the good light. Sorry, no good clouds. And nowadays everything is much more fast-paced. Of course, productions are expensive. They want to have everything, get done as quick as possible, as many setups or shots as possible. If the clouds are not perfect, then we will CG it in post, if there's budget for that, of course. So, everything got faster. And I think also the audience is how they... what's the word when you watch something and you just take it in? There's a different limit of what you. So if it's too slow, then your brain says, okay, this is too slow for me. Let's go and see something much faster and much more colorful and much more interesting.
And how, because the camera, you said that's your storytelling tool. And that's just one thing. And so why, before at the beginning we were talking about, why did you decide to be on that side of the camera? Because I was somebody who chose to be on the other side of the camera as an actor, but you obviously didn't want to do that. You wanted to be on the other side.
Well, actually, I did want to do that. At the beginning, I wanted to be an actor as my grandfather was.
All right. Your grandfather or father? Sorry.
My grandfather. He was an actor. In the National Theatre. And as a child, I sometimes visited him at the theater, or I went with him to the dubbing studio because he was working on a lot of dubbing movies and TV series. And so just the whole behind the scenes kind of atmosphere was really interesting and magical for me, that you're working from behind the scenes and you produce something for the audience, and then as the audience you're looking at it from the other side. I guess maybe that's the thing, because first, as I said, I wanted to be an actor. That was in the elementary school, and then in high school I already went studying photography not far from here in the Kisképző, which was an art high school. So I studied photography there, and what made me change for movies was actually my love of movies, or my love for movies. And I felt that still photography is just not enough for me. And also I felt that it's a bit... So I love working with a crew. I love working with actors, directors, grips, electrics, sparks, gaffers, all that.
Yeah, it's a very collaborative approach, I think, which which a lot of people don't really realize. I think a lot of people think it's very hierarchical. It can be, but
it's also teamwork.
Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah.
And so, if we jump to the point, I know you said that you don't like to think about the beginning and the end as being the critical points, but at the end, what do you okay, everything is different. I know you're going to say that to me. It depends on what we're looking at because it's all different. But what's the best for you that an audience, when they're going out? And I suppose I'm not looking for what are you hoping for the audience to be carrying with them? A feeling, a thought, or do you like it all to just end there in the cinema so that they can sort of step out of it back into their own world?
It's, I think, from a filmmaker point of view, I like to, I would like to give a memorable experience for the audience. Of course, you can say that you want to change people's thinking and people's minds or how they approach a certain subject or theme, but I think, I think the experience is important. That's the most important.
And can you think of a film that did change you? Even a little bit, where you sort of went in and then you came out and you thought, oh, no, this has had an effect on me?
There has been more movies, I think, that changed me or defined changed the way I approach movies from the very beginning. Probably as a child, there were some cartoons, for example, or later when I saw, for example, Spielberg's Schindler's List. That was a very strong, very emotional experience for me. And and then later, some of the more intellectual or existential movies, for example, Antonioni, from the Italian director, his movies, or some films that we studied from film history. They are all obviously became film history because they changed something in the art of film or filmmaking.
Let's go to Schindler's List, because I think in a way it's a little bit like, perhaps it's people of our, well, I'm not, you're younger than me, but it's a bit like those momentous moments, like the Princess Diana being killed. We all remember, so I have a very clear memory of going to the cinema to watch Schindler's List, and also the fact of how we organized it, because we knew it was going to be an important film. Somehow we just knew. But of course it could have been just made really badly. I mean, obviously he's a great storyteller, but it could have been done badly. What do you think are some of the clever things in it that just make it such a, not just a very immersive experience, but a very, an experience which does change?
Well, maybe it's too obvious what I'm saying, but for example, the girl in the red or reddish dress in the film, there's a girl who's like really just always in the background, and that's the only color in the film, that her coat has this red color, and then when she gets killed later, we recognize her because of the color of the coat.
Right.
And I think that was very powerful for me, and defining how I saw that film.
So and because that's something I completely forgot about. But now that you've mentioned it, I remember it. Why though? What does it? Because I think there's a very special, there's a technique at heart there that he's working with the audience. What is it that he's doing there with them, or what was he doing with you?
You should ask him.
Sorry,
you should ask him.
Well, yeah, but what do you think? I mean, why did that work for you? That fact that there's this emblematic color that keeps coming back. You don't know much about it. And then again you see that.
I think, of course, it was very deliberate. It was it cannot be that you're making a black and white movie and accidentally there's a color in it. So it was obviously a deliberate choice to somehow make the audience really see that little girl and to emotionally have some connection and understand that, yes, there has been millions of little girls, hundreds of thousands of little girls or millions killed in these kind of horrible death camps.
Because I think that's what it does. I mean, from what you've said, it makes it a very, very personal moment for the audience without really knowing too much about her at all. It's a sort of background figure, but suddenly becomes very personal. And I would say that I think that's, in a way, storytelling only really works when we can put it into a personal context. I mean, either we empathize. So from a cinematic point of view, if you're working with lights, how do you bring how do you stop it just being generalizations and make it something that is going to be personal?
I'm not sure if you can do that. I mean, of course you can emphasize a lot of things with light, other than the time of day, or if it's a cloudy day or a sunny day. Yeah. But it all, in movies it all comes together. So it's very difficult to just talk about the cinematographer. Of course you can, but I think you need specifics, and it's all adds up that there is acting in it, there is directing, there is production design, cinematography, costume, makeup, and all that comes together, and that what gives you the experience. And
but I suppose
hopefully the emotional.
Perhaps light was not the best word for me to use. The visual side. What is it about the visuals that can really draw you into to make it a human experience? Because of course you've got the acting and you've got the writing, but your world is adding to that, isn't it?
Yeah. As I said, you have to come up with a certain look of the film at the beginning, and if your ideas were right about how this film should look, then I think you achieve the goal that you set for yourselves at the beginning when you started making that particular movie.
You obviously, you get paid for doing the work you do, but you could probably do other jobs as well. You could do probably far more commercial work and get paid a lot more. What's the driving force for you? Why do you bother doing it?
I just enjoy it a lot, really. But not many people realize that it's really a hard lifestyle and a hard job to do. Not just because you can have 12 hours of work days. And many times you have to shoot at night, and your life really gets upside down, and all that. But freelancing is also difficult. Not all the people can deal with that. That sometimes there are 2-3 months without work, and you have to save up some money for those periods. But I love telling stories, and what we discussed earlier is that I think really stories that define us is in somehow it's you can see the essence of that in movies, because it combines different art forms, music and art direction and acting and lighting and cinematography and all that. And I think it's a really wonderful combination of different art forms in one.
Yeah, it is really rich. I mean, it's one of the richest sort of experiences we can have because you've got so much going on.
Yeah.
And so if we started talking a little bit about the openings of films, and then you were talking about how this most recent film that won was at the Berlin Festival last year. This year, sorry, opens on this woman, and then it pans back, and that is one thing. It's a woman, and it's opening on there, and I often think that people, we are like we are. All of us are pretty good storytellers, but some of us try to do it for a living, like yourself. But if you had to think of one word that defines you as what's your story in a word? If you had to put it in a word, it could be a Hungarian word as well. I mean, it's not really fair saying, tell me in English, but if you come up with a word in English, it could be.
Good question.
And if you think of yourself as this cinematographer, I am the cinematographer. I know you always like saying to me it's different on each different thing, but
and also the thing is that there's also a different approach for cinematography, because the way as a different example, I can say the same thing about architecture or architects, that some architects have a very distinguished style, and that you recognize from afar, and he was the architect of that building. And there are some cinematographers or of course in photography it's the same, that you recognize their work as a signature of their taste or personality. But I don't really like that as a cinematographer, not just because it's an applied art and I have to work with different directors and different projects, and when I'm shooting a comedy, I'm not going to light it as a horror movie, obviously. Or maybe I will, but there has to be a good reason for that. But so yeah, I like to just free myself of style, and it's the same. If you consider clothing, you can have a very specific style, but then you're logged into that style, and you cannot just choose a colorful. If you are wearing black everywhere and sleek black clothing, you cannot suddenly decide to wear a red Adidas sneakers or any kind of sneakers. That doesn't fit to that style. So, and I think that's the thing, that if you don't have a specific style, as a cinematographer, I believe that's the way to work, and that's the way to approach, because it's just how I feel the most comfortable in every different situation.
But I like this. I'm just trying to think of one word that would represent free myself from style, because it's a liberation in a way.
Playfulness.
Sorry, playfulness.
Maybe that's the word.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Right.
That's what came into my mind when you first asked.
Okay, that's good. I think there is something about when we tell stories, actually, if you were in your sort of in a social situation, you say, oh, look, I was on set today and this happened. We are very playful when we talk in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go, why do you think being playful is so important? But because it's incredibly important. There's something quite magical about it. And I think audiences also engage with that. They sense, whatever it is, that there's a playfulness to it. And I suppose that's a rather disappointing thing about life now, is it seems everybody seems to take themselves too seriously. And, we've lost that playfulness. But I don't know. Is that something you sense as well?
I do, but on a personal level, I don't, because I feel it that this might be a general psychological experience for many people. But on the other hand, in my own life, I try to be as playful as possible, to just, because there are so many beautiful things in life, not just filmmaking. I love filmmaking as well, but I also love just walking the dog on a hill. And I also love reading about astrophysics sometimes. And I have lots of different interests, or philosophy, or just a good book that I suddenly, heard of an author, and I got interested in it. I buy it and I read it, and lately I feel like I was very movie oriented and cinema oriented, and in the past years, actually, COVID helped with this.
Right. Okay.
That it opened up other possibilities as well.
Like what? What were the other possibilities?
What I mentioned, hiking, going on walks, big tours, or reading books, for example. I'm reading much more since COVID than before. And I had some really, not life-changing, but big experiences, or maybe even life-changing experiences, you can say that, reading some books.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Adam. It's been a pleasure. It's been really good.
It was, indeed.
Yeah, let's hold it there, I think.